Hey everybody, well, it's a pretty momentous time for me at the moment. When I left the house, I was on 29,998 subs, so I'm very close to 30,000. I may have already passed it. But that's not the only milestone that's coming up at the moment. I've got 3 million video views I'm nearly hit. And also this September, sort of in the next few days, week or so, will be the anniversary of my 3 years of vlogging. And that has been a mad time for me. I mean, I'm so glad I did it. It's been 3 years of hard work. I mean, in that time, I'm also very nearly hit 500 video uploads. It's been a lot of work for me, but I've absolutely loved it. And it's been so fun to, you know, communicate with you guys and discuss things. And it's taught me so much about myself, the world, how to see things from a different point of view. Just, it's been a very, very positive experience. I'm very glad that I did. And I want to thank you guys for being able to make that happen, because without you subscribing to the channel and liking the videos and viewing them and commenting and all of that stuff, it just wouldn't be what it is. I did have a plan for the 30,000 sub video. I have had it for a while, and unfortunately I wasn't able to get it done in time. Basically, my brother owns a 140cc pit bike. Yeah, you see the joke here. Little bike, big me, and it's got more cc than my bike. Well, obviously this pit bike is not road legal, and the plan was to take it to one of these places where you can take these bikes and go for a rug around and do some vlogs on it, or do a vlog on it, you know. Well, unfortunately, the place that we can legally take it is only open 1 day a month, which is shit. This place could be raking money in, but no, 1 day a month. And with everything that's gone on in the past few months, and particularly lately as I've returned to work, which hasn't been the smoothest of journeys, I'm not going to moan about it. I'm just getting on. I just wasn't able to get it done in time. That's why I asked you guys for an idea for something smaller to do just in the meantime. And of all the ideas that were suggested to me, there were some good ones which I just couldn't do. There were some of them which were utterly ridiculous, and there were some that just didn't strike me as that's something I want to do. And unless a video idea really throws itself at me, I tend not to do them. It's a quality control in my brain. It may not even be that effective, but as long as I'm happy, that's the important thing with it. I really want to thank the people that have been with me since the very early days. 3 years ago was a long time, and you've watched an awful lot of my videos. I've progressed. They didn't used to be that great before, but yeah, the guys that have been around a very long time, thanks to you guys. I really want to appreciate that you've been there supporting me since the early days. But that's not the end of this video. I've got some more to say. It's going to put a bit of a downer on this uppy video, you know. It's a happy time. But this video I saw last night, it affected me. And more actually the discussions that I've seen after it. So I want to very quickly talk about that and just leave a point that I think is a good thing to remember for the future. And for the next 3 years of my vlogging, and you've probably seen it by now because I had 4 people send me this video. It's called David's Story, I'm sure you've heard of it. It's a road safety awareness video which has been released by the mother from the family of this guy who died in a motorcycle accident in Norfolk. This video was a helmet video, and it was on his head the whole time through the crash. You see him die basically. And I have to say, the first time I watched it, even though I knew it was not going to be pleasant, I had instant flashbacks to my crash because it was the exact same setup, the speeds were just different. And yeah, it really did sort of kick me in the gut for a second, because it reminded me of that time. Because as much as I'm like, yeah, I don't care about it, I'm going to keep going, I love riding too much, I am perfectly aware of the fact that at any moment I could be taken out and that could be the end of it. Get off your phone. Perfect example. I'm going to put a link in the description for you to go and see it. I warn you, it's not like gore graphic, it's just very shocking. But it really does highlight for everyone how quickly things can change. It's not aimed at telling cars to watch out for bikes, and it's not aimed for telling bikes to slow down, because there is a bit of both of that in this video. The guy is doing 97 miles an hour roughly, shortly before he actually has this collision. But the car that pulled out on him admitted that they didn't see him, and they didn't see the car that he overtook shortly before. They should have, if they looked, they would have seen him. People are making up all sorts of, oh, like it was like miles away and suddenly it was there. He was doing 97, not 200. You would see them coming. It's a big bike. but unfortunately they didn't, and the accident was what it was. And because it's such a perfect example of this problem of both sides, it's caused quite a lot of controversy and argument, and it's turned into drivers blaming bikers, or blaming the guy for going too fast, and bikers blaming cars for being blind. And the reason this argument, and you know it's an argument that's been going on for a very long time, still exists and will never go away, is because there's an element of truth to both sides. There are bikers who drive safely, and there are bikers who drive like dicks. There are car drivers who drive safely and look out for bikes, and there are cars which don't look. It just depends on what mix of good to bad riders and good to bad drivers you have in any particular area. For instance, here, most of the riders seem to be very good. There is a few which seem to be a bit idiotic, but there is a high proportion of cars here being driven by old people, and they make lots of mistakes. Nearly every single ride I have to take some form of avoiding action, but it's not a drastic avoiding action. I'm talking about preempting the danger. Since my accident, I learnt to drive a lot safer, and the thing that I particularly look out for is cars pulling out at me, because they're the things you can't really control. So don't just trust people and go flying past them. So, and keep the speed down, because we all know it's fun to go for a bit of a speed sometimes. People say, oh, you're only going at 125. Yeah, I can still break the speed limit. Not on the motorway, admittedly, but you know, I can still break the speed limit, and it's not necessarily a good idea, but as long as you choose the right time and place, you're going to limit the risks to everyone. And if there's side turnings, and particularly this junction this crash happened on has been pointed out as a horrible junction, and it's true, it's like a 60-70 mile an hour road with a junction that pulls straight across it in the middle. It's a horrible way the road's set up. It just means that if there is ever an accident there, it's going to be at speed, pretty much. So my point I want to leave is basically this. The video that was uploaded by Davy's family was put there to try and teach people on both sides. And that was a very brave decision of theirs, because they know their son, who has only recently died, well, I think it might have been last year actually, they're going to read, if they go and read it, all sorts of abusive things being said about their son, and that's going to be horrible for them. But I think they realise that the overall good is that it might shock some people into just realising what the reality of their actions may be, whether that is a bike or a car. So the point I wanted to leave the video on was this. That argument is going to go on forever, and we're always going to have incidences of bikers going too fast and having crashes, and cars not looking and crashing into bikers. It's just an inevitability. It's going to keep happening. But rather than sit there and argue and point fingers and try and blame and bring up the past, and let's just say this, we're all humans. Some of us like our cars, some of us like our bikes. We try and use the roads together and just look out for each other, and you know, it would be a much safer environment. Car drivers need to lose the stigma of the dislike of bikes that I've noticed, because we can filter. There seems to be a lot of it. Because we can get through you in traffic, they start building up this opinion of bikers as a whole, and they don't like it. And they'll also see 500 motorcycles pass them normally, and safely, and it's fine. And then they'll see a couple of people flying past them at, like, you know, 30 plus speeds, like over what they're doing. And they're not going to remember the ones that went past slowly, they're going to remember the ones that were reckless. And then they start having this opinion of bikers, and it breeds a distrust, and that leads to like anger and frustration, and it just is not a good situation. Bikers, you know who you are if you know you push it a bit too much sometimes. Just tone it down a little and do it in the right places. And car drivers, please, please look for us bikes, because we are always going to come off worse in one of those accidents. And I know many of you may well be very observant for bikes and do everything you can to help us on the road, but there are equally as many that don't. I mean, as I say, I'm not going to argue about the percentages of who's worse, you know, because in my area, for instance, I have a lot more problems with cars than I do with bikes, but then there's me and one bike and hundreds of cars. It saddens me that their hope for that video to, you know, try and educate and shock a few people into controlling how they drive, whether that be a car or a bike. What's really depressing about it is the fact that people are just arguing over it and trying to point the finger of blame. And that's what we need to lose. We forget the finger of blame of what's happened in the past. Just look out for each other and then we can all go home, see our families, and continue our long and happy lives without it being brought to an end in a split second. Be some
there's
many
challenge. That's not so bad compared to what it was,
excruciating,
but it's still pretty fucked up.
Very shallow there.